There's some big breaking news in the League One playoff race with Barnsley Football Club sacking their manager Neill Collins with just one game to go and a look at the potential playoffs. Now, Barnsley released a statement just a few hours ago as of recording this video. Collins was appointed last summer, and despite several positive spells throughout the season, recent results have left the board of directors feeling that change is needed. Their director of football added onto that statement, Neill has been extremely professional throughout the period with which I have worked with him. He has done everything he can to push the team in the direction we all want Barnsley to go. He has conducted himself with professionalism and commitment throughout the period I've worked with him. However, with a crucial season conclusion ahead of us, we feel that now is the right time to make a change. We thank the fans for their continued support, and we urge you all to back this team that support Northampton this Saturday. We'll update the supporters in the coming days of any upcoming changes. At the bottom of that statement, it is announced that Martin Devaney will be appointed as caretaker coach for the next game. Will he be in charge for the playoffs? That is yet to be seen. Now, Neill Collins has had an up and down time at Barnsley, and just a few months ago, they beat Derby at home, and what was a really good performance for Barnsley that day, and that really put some pressure on Derby County because Barnsley, I believe they may have had 1 or 2 games in hand at that period of time, and they were 3 points behind, and it really felt as if Derby were like starting to sort of go backwards. Barnsley were pushing on, and that automatic promotion run was a potential. Now, we're going to now take a look into Neill Collins and his full time at Barnsley, and then we'll look into the previous sort of 10 games-ish. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below or in this top corner. We're trying to hit 500 subscribers by the end of April, and we are just, 8 or 9 days away, and the season is closing this weekend. So make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for all my latest EFL League One content, and I'll catch you in the next part of this video. So obviously, Neill Collins was at Barnsley from the start of this season, as mentioned in the statement. He was at Tampa Bay Rowdies for a long period of time before jumping ship to Barnsley. He's been in charge of 52 matches with 24 wins, 13 draws and 15 losses, averaging 1.6 points per game. Now, ultimately, he just wasn't quite good enough. And although I think playoffs is good for Barnsley, given some of the teams in this league. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think League One is outrageously good this season, but I think there is some still very good teams. Now, in League One alone, they've scored 81 goals, conceding 63, and are currently sitting on 75 points. But they are going into the final game in a poor run of form, where they haven't won in like 5 games, 6 games maybe. They've drew 1 and lost 4 of their previous 5. And if I go back to my previous point about them being just 3 points behind Derby when they had a game in hand, and they beat Derby a few months ago, this decision to get rid of Neill Collins could prove to be a masterstroke. It could. Now, if we just go and look onto Barnsley, now we see where they are in the league table, right? And ultimately, I'm going to have a video out on this playoff race later on today, so make sure you subscribe and stay tuned to the channel, because this playoff race could go any way, and each team has a different sort of problem to face going into the final day. Like Barnsley, they face Northampton, Oxford play Exeter, Blackpool play Reading, Lincoln play already promoted and title winners Pompey. Like, it's difficult to call those final 2 playoff places at this minute. And if you go back a few weeks ago, Barnsley were level on points with Peterborough, had 2 games in hand on automatic promotion, Derby, and like they were in a really good position to be safe by this point. And unfortunately, it just hasn't happened for them, and results recently have really taken a dive. You can see them on this right hand side. Like they lost to Blackpool at the weekend, which I'm not saying it was the final straw, but playoff rival, you've just brought them right back into the playoff race, and you went 3-0 down within they were 3-0 down within 45 minutes. The defeat to Pompey, I believe, they went up twice in both games. I did review it all in a video previously. Obviously, the draw to Reading, not great. Losing to Stevenage when Stevenage, at that point, was still a playoff contender. Charlton, don't get me wrong, since Nathan Jones come in, have been in some really good form. And Barnsley were just unable to make the most of their opportunities. And if we just do take a look at their fixtures, now, we've looked at those ones just a minute ago. We go back to that win at Derby, right? On the 24th of February, At that point, I think they were on 63 points. Derby were on 66. So since then, if we go to the table, they've picked up 9 points. Derby have picked up 23. 23? Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. So it's hard. It is really hard. They took that win. They beat Wickham. They went and drew with Bolton, and then they get smashed by Lincoln, which really sort of set them on this bad train of form. Beating Carlisle, we know the situation with Carlisle, aren't the greatest team in the league, already relegated, and then they've won since that game at Derby. What have they won? 3 games, 2 draws, and then the rest are losses. Maybe 3 draws, I think, if we just skip forward. Yeah, 3 draws and 3 wins, and the rest are losses. And if we go and look now at this Barnsley squad, they've got some Liam Roberts, really good keeper. He's won yes, he's conceded 52 goals, 8 clean sheets, only 8 clean sheets this season, which for some might be disappointing, especially when you look at what Derby County have done. Joe Wildsmith has 19. I think Josh Vickers has a couple as well. You look at some of the other clubs, but defensively, ultimately, he's not the greatest goalkeeper in League One, but he's not the worst. He can do a job. He's a fairly decent player. And if we go back to the rest of the squad, they've got some really good players. They bought Josh Earl in from Fleetwood, and I quite like Josh Earl. I think he's a really good player. Pines, I think he's quite good. Not even going to try and butcher this name, but I think he's a quite good player as well. And you even look in the midfield, I'd say they've got one of the best midfields in the league. Adam Phillips, I think he's incredible. Herbie Kane, I really like. Luca Connell, I think he's impressive. Russell, I think he's really good as well. It's not like they have a bad team, and they should have been confirmed in the playoffs a few weeks ago, in my opinion. You even go onto the forward line and you've got Devante Cole, Sam Cosgrove, John McAtee. It's not like these are bad players. And we go and look at their numbers now, and you look, Devante Cole, 18 goals, John McAtee, 12, Adam Phillips, 11, 6 assists for Corey O'Keefe, 5 for Phillips and Kane. You've got 21 contributions from Devante Cole, 16 from McAtee, 16 from Phillips. This is a fairly good side, and I don't know, we know they play this 3-back system, which I think they've played played it for God knows how long. It got them in the playoffs of the Championship, and they weren't far away from getting themselves into the Premier League, and they've just really sort of fell off the boil. And I reviewed this game against Barnsley, and if we just go down to the numbers, it's you're dominating the ball, but your chance creation's poor. 11 shots, 5 on target. Yeah, nearly 50% for shots on target to shots is decent, but look at where their shots are coming from. They've got 4 from outside the box. Their 2 goals come, 1 from the edge, 1 from inside. Yes, they've got them 4 chances in the box as well as the goals, and it's they need a change. And obviously they've got this lad Fabio Giallo, 18 years of age, fairly decent. Obviously he's not made many appearances this season, obviously only 13, 237 minutes, which obviously isn't a lot, but he's popped up with a goal and an assist. I think he scored just a couple of weeks ago against Reading. And they've got some fairly good players at Barnsley, and ultimately they shouldn't be where they are. Now, for me, I personally would have waited till the end of the season to make this decision to sack Neill Collins off, essentially. But ultimately, they've got to look at what is coming up on Saturday with the game against Northampton. It's going to be difficult anyway because they're fighting for something, and they've not won in 5. This could obviously turn into an absolute masterstroke for Barnsley, and it's going to be very tough. It is really tough to predict that playoff run, and obviously, as I mentioned earlier, I'm doing a video about that later on, which you can watch. It'll probably be out about 6 o'clock today, so stay tuned to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts on this Barnsley decision, because for me, I've seen obviously a lot of Barnsley fans have been slating the situation that they're in, and there was a lot of their fans that after that win at Derby really thought, we're going to get automatic promotion here. And to be fair, who could blame them? They put in a really good performance against us, picked up all 3 points that day, and it was a massive win in the scheme of the league. And although Derby fans, me as a Derby fan, I look at it, and I've always looked at it as I'd rather have points on the board than games in hand. And I think that's shown a lot this season, especially with the teams behind Derby. You've got Bolton, who at one point had 3 games in hand, and they're still 3 points behind. Peterborough still have a game in hand, and at one point they had 3 or 4 games in hand on Derby, and they're still going to be a maximum of 3 points behind. Barnsley, obviously, they had their couple of games in hand on us as well, and for me, it's always points on the board over games in hand, but some supporters discussions that I've seen from Barnsley. There's a Barnsley fan on TikTok, I think his name's Callum Fowler, pops up on my For You page all the time now. He's been saying for months that they're going to get automatic promotion, and then all of a sudden it's really sort of dropped off from him. And like, I think it's very clear to see that a lot of Barnsley fans felt that this is going to be the right decision, and some would have probably let Collins go a month or so ago, but ultimately they've made the decision now. Let me know your thoughts. How do you think it's going to impact the season ender? Because that's what the Northampton game is. It's essentially the season ender, depending on what happens, and it could be a masterstroke. I don't really know how the permutations are for the league, so let me just get that up and we'll go through that. So just before we close out this video, obviously Barnsley are on 75 points. Realistically, they've got to win, haven't they? Like, ultimately they have to win, because a draw only really rules out Blackpool, but then they're on equal goal difference, so if Blackpool win, it doesn't, like, Blackpool would go ahead. If Oxford and Lincoln win, they're out. So yeah, essentially it's win or bust for Barnsley, and obviously those other teams can lose as well, but ultimately you wanted to get your own result. And for me, they've got a difficult ending day. Obviously Northampton beat Derby not that long ago. Obviously Lincoln play Pompey, and Pompey got beat at the weekend by Wigan. Obviously they're on the beach, they're sorted already. Oxford and Blackpool both playing away, Exeter and Reading respectively, so it's going to be very difficult to see how this playoff race closes up. You'll have to let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for all my latest EFL content, and I'll catch you in the next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.